If you truly want to waste money in real estate development, then don't talk to the community first. Just go in and do what you want to do. Throw a few pictures their way and see how that works out for you. Happy Friday, everyone. It's almost the 4th of July, so I think everyone's taking a holiday, getting a much needed break. I am Dominique Anderson, Principal Consultant at Populous Community Strategy, where we are community minded consultants that are empowering developers, municipalities, and nonprofits to build thriving communities. So today we're going to talk about something, of course, near and dear to my heart. It's in the name of my company. It's the focus of what we do. Community engagement, community outreach, community development. And so when we think about the role of a real estate developer, of course, whether you do commercial or residential, you're creating things inside that built environment in communities. But if anybody, any developer that's done this long enough knows that if you don't go to the community first, then you're going to have delays in your project. You're going to have pushback on your project, and you may build something that doesn't move or sell. So neighbors and neighborhoods are your best tools to really sell your project, whether it's commercial again or residential. Of course, we could always go down the rabbit hole of affordable, attainable, or workforce market rate. But the first things first, how have you talked to the community? So how do you do this? How do you really talk to communities about what's important? There's about 10 steps. I'm going to give you 10 steps today. So the first thing that you really want to do is engage early and often. Put down the pencil, put down the drawing, put down everything that you're going to want to walk in there with, and all your cool renderings of what lives rent free in your head. What you want to show up with is nothing, and maybe a nice piece of paper where you take thoughts, maybe a survey from the individuals, right? Listen twice as much as you speak. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I love that. I love that so much. And so, engage early and often. It matters because people want to be heard. At the end of the day, the most common thing that we want in this world is to be heard. And so if you engage early with that community, the individuals who live right around, who are nearby within a parameter of the project that you're developing, even if you're not bringing in attainable, affordable housing, even if you're bringing in market rate, the end of the day, you want to say, okay, well, we're bringing in this, but hey, maybe we can add a park, a human park, right? And so, listen, engage early, engage often, host your town hall meetings, make a social media page, do newsletters, think about every type of individual in that community. If you have a community that you know is not going to be on social media, then don't put all of your information on social media. Definitely have a Facebook, right? Because that will touch a lot of people. And then trend down. It really depends on what's that community, what's the age range. You really need to have a good idea of who you're building around. If you've already gotten highest and best use and you've decided that this is the place to build this project, then you already should know who are the people, who are the stakeholders in that community. And so, that leads into understanding local needs and concerns. Every community has its own unique set of priorities. So address those needs and ensure your project really hits home with those local residents or the local businesses, right? If you're doing commercial and building a building, understand what people need and then build that. And if that's what you're already considering building, make sure that it fits there. That's part of that highest and best use, right? Part of the feasibility. Are you going to have a lot of pushback? You're going to have pushback sometimes regardless, but you want to try to make the project that makes the most sense in that community. And so, do your focus groups and do your surveys and meet with your local leaders, your stakeholders, organizations, your religious institutions, your other nonprofits, schools, right? So these are the groups that you really know are going to move your project forward. And groups like the religious institutions are going to have all of the people probably on their roles that you need to talk to, right? And so that's a good opportunity to have meetings at the religious institutions or with their parishioners. And then analyze that demographic and economic data, right? Like, so know who's there, and what's the income, what are they, all of that really good deep dive. You need that data to do really good solid community outreach and engagement. And then take some time after you've had these first couple of meetings, go back with that after that first initial meeting where you introduce yourself and your team and get to know the people in the community. You're not going to have everybody at that first one. So you're going to want to go ahead and plan for a series of community engagement opportunities, right? And so from there, once you've kind of talked to people a couple of times and got an idea of what they want and talked about kind of what you're thinking, and then you can really start talking about community benefits, right? Not a community benefits agreement, which is always awesome, and I recommend it, but just the community benefits, right? So talk about, this is the project that we have in mind. Given what we heard from you, here's what we think, how this could really work, right? And so that's where you start building support and kind of mitigating the opposition. By your second or third meeting, note that I said second or third, not just one. If you really are going to be intentional and do this well, you're going to have your visual aids, because you will have done some opportunities, some rendering, and gotten some pieces together that say, okay, I heard you, and here's what you said, here's what I was thinking, and here's where we kind of can meet in the middle. And then make sure that early on you're thinking about things like, how are you going to improve infrastructure around your project or even in that city? How are you going to leave that area better than you found it? Job creation, are there some amenities that are going to come with that? And then if you've done other projects like this in other cities, then share those success stories from similar projects. Early on, you also want to foster those local partnerships. So, partner with your local businesses and organizations, really enhance your community trust and collaboration. Think about, how can I go into this community and really empower and enhance? Your local contractors and suppliers, of course, you want to, meet, if that municipality has a diversity minimum, you want to make sure you meet that with the contractors and suppliers that you work with. And then you collaborate, those nonprofits that you went to and those religious institutions. You really want to talk to them about community, projects. How can you partner with them and use what you do and what you know to benefit them? And again, leave the community better than you found it. And then, of course, your schools and your universities. How do you lead in? How do you stand up maybe some internships with that local university? Even the high schools, right? We have a program called Aspire to Develop, and we work with high schoolers, teach them how to be mission driven leaders and community driven developers, right? And so, how can you create something like that? How can you support something like that that may already be happening in that community? Your sustainable practices, right? So sustainability is absolutely crucial. We talk about affordable or attainable housing, workforce housing, and kind of sustainability lives on its own, but really it should be part of every conversation that we think about, because we have to make these work. If we're trying to make communities that are thriving, they need to be sustainable, resilient, and then affordable or attainable, right? And so, eco friendly practices, how do you build those into your project to really enhance the support from the community? Because a lot of that community, no matter where you are, they're kind of going to care about, well, how are these going to stand up? How are they going to leave the community? How is your construction practices going to leave our community, right? And so, if you're implementing green building standards like LEED or Energy Star, and that may just be the appliances that you provide in the property, right? There's a lot of ways that you can meet these standards. Renewable energy sources, sustainable materials. You think about your hemp concrete, your hemp REIT. There's a lot of different things that you can use to really make a sustainable practice. Even how you structure the property. If you have a modular project, maybe that helps if it's residential. And then green spaces. If you're doing a commercial space, where are you including green spaces and biodiversity? how are you going to use some of that space to build gardens, or just plant things that are going to clean the air, right? Like there's a lot of opportunity inside of that sustainable space. And then early and often be really, really transparent. If there was one word that goes right next to community or community engagement, it should be transparency, right? So you need to be really transparent about the challenges, kind of where your hard pass is on things that maybe the community may want and that that you're not going to be able to deliver on, or things that are really important to you in this project and really make it highest and best use. How can you be transparent about those things early on? And then if you have changes, if you've come to the table and I would never suggest, but if you've come to the table already and promised that community everything, if you say, yep, we'll do all those things, red flag for them it should be. But the challenge is you need to go ahead and say, hey, listen, when you hit that roadblock, say this is where we are. So that's where that social media, the newsletter, and the website are really, really crucial to keep energy and keep updates so that you can always reference individuals to those places. And then when you alert them of challenges or potential challenges, make sure that you're talking about how am I going to address them, because you want to keep that transparency. It gives trust and credibility. So, share the hurdles and your solutions. Have an open door policy for questions and concerns. Hire someone if you don't already have someone on your team that just handles that, right? Community engagement. They need to be able to have that conversation. That same individual should be tasked with managing the social for the project, managing the newsletter, managing outreach and the events, setting those up, and then keeping regular open lines of communication with the community so that they can give those regular progress updates. And then, number 7, we're on 7, by the way. I haven't been counting these down for you, but we're at 7. Invest in community projects. Why does this matter? It matters because when you invest locally, it really shows your commitment to the community's well-being, and it builds goodwill. That says, I'm here, we're building. We're not here to just build and take, but we're here for the long haul, and we really care about this community, so we're going to invest here, right? You're investing in the community. So, human parks, dog parks are great. Listen, I own 2 ferrets, so I want a ferret park because I can't take them to the dog park, right? But we have to get human parks. Schools, how are you investing in the schools? How are you empowering young people? Community centers. Is there a space? Maybe there's a lot next to your space. You can add something in, or think about that. But at the very least, you sponsor those community events and programs. Really, really lean in and feed into the community. It doesn't hurt if you establish some sort of scholarship or grants for residents. If there's a building program, a construction program, really support that so that you're saying, we're here for this amount of time. And if you guys can get to be a part of this project somehow, that would be amazing because we really care about growing that space. So let me back up and just kind of give you a refresh review. So the first one, engage early and often. Second, understand local needs and concerns. Third, highlight community benefits. Fourth, foster local partnerships. 5, incorporate sustainable practices. 6, be transparent about challenges. 7, invest in community projects. And 8, remember we're doing 10. 8, prioritize affordable, attainable workforce housing. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, whether it's affordable or attainable, the wording at the end of the day, it's critical. There's a critical need in pretty much every community for housing that people can afford that doesn't leave them house poor, where they're not paying over 30% of their income, whether it's daily work receiving income or Social Security, right? Let's not forget about our seniors. If it's some sort of check they receive, veterans, right? We need to make sure that they can live in a place affordably. So remember, we're building safe, healthy, affordable, resilient, thriving communities. So prioritizing this can enhance your project's acceptance, right? And its impact. communities, neighbors are always going to say, we need more affordable housing. We need more affordable housing. So even inside of your commercial project, because that's what they're going to, that's now the other standard is if you're doing commercial, they're going to say, well, we need affordable housing. And you're like, I just wanted to stand up this door. Like, what does this have to do with me? But there is an opportunity for you to invest. Remember, we went back, we're investing in that community. So how do you partner with the affordable housing developer? How do you see, maybe make a partnership and create some affordable housing next to your project? Like, there's a lot of ways to think through this that you can be a part of that conversation. So, allocate a portion of your development for affordable housing. Maybe you have a large building and you can put some affordable or mixed income housing in your project. You can work with the local housing authorities and nonprofits. Use your tax incentives like LIHTC or new market tax credits, and grants. Look at bonds, right? Your municipal bonds. All of these things are opportunities. And then there's a lot of grants and funding that come down that are really specific. If you have a LEED building, look at those LEED and those sustainable grants. If you have affordable housing, what's the money that's earmarked for that municipality and that neighborhood and community for affordable? Like, there's a lot of money that just sits out there that we don't think about to create a creative capital stack. And so that's where we can really make this affordable housing show up. So 8, prioritize affordable housing. 9, create inclusive public spaces. When we have inclusive spaces, that means that everybody can use them. They're inclusive of everybody, right? So parks and plazas and community gardens, right? These community spaces create interaction and inclusivity, and it makes your development really a key part of a neighborhood. So, think about how can we add in a park or a plaza or a community garden. All right, so we're up to 9. So, after you've thought about your community garden and all the great community space you're adding, you really want to think about being responsive and adaptive. So, number 10, be responsive and adaptive. Flexibility and responsiveness to community feedback. Really make sure that, the community knows that you're aligned with them and that you're going to meet the local expectations and needs. You can't meet them all, right? But you can at least do what you can with what you have where you are. And so it really depends on creating these feedback loops, right? That person that you've hired, help them to create that feedback loop to continuously gather input, to make sure information is out in a timely manner, that it's up to date, any images, make sure those are out, and that you're having consistent meetings on a good schedule, right? And that they're scheduled out, people can go and see where they are. It's all in plain view. So just regularly review and adjust your plans based on feedback. Be willing to make changes and address concerns and improve outcomes. Whew, we did it. So with that, I hope that this has been 10 good tips for you to do to win over communities. And you won't win everybody over, but to at least show that you're being transparent and integrating yourself into the community. I really hope this has been helpful. So with that, have a fantastic day, evening, weekend. Had to have hopes for a living, shooting for the stars, but I couldn't make a killing.